There are exactly 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and shows starring David Boreanaz getting renewed for at least 5 seasons. And since death and taxes were some of the only things featured on the news cycle this past year, I found myself rewatching the show that kickstarted Boreanaz's illustrious career, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. My relationship with this series is complicated. I love the outline it provides, but I hate how the writers filled in most of the blanks. Very few story arcs have the capacity to spark a passionate sense of unyielding rage within me. Faith Lahane's regression over the course of seasons 3 and 4 is one such arc. Her sole purpose on the show is to be a foil to Buffy, a dark reflection of the Slayer who indulges in all of her worst impulses. This characterization is best reflected in Faith's secondary mantra, want, take, have. Buffy briefly flirts with this ideology, while Faith just flat-out flirts with Buffy. When I tell people who've watched the show that Faith is one of my favorite characters, I wind up on the receiving end of some concerned looks, all of which are justified. Faith is a hot mess, of that there is no denying, but she's a compelling hot mess, one who can be painfully relatable at times. Faith's greatest struggle on the show isn't fighting the forces of evil, it's showing vulnerability. Her primary catchphrase, 5x5, is just her eccentric way of deflecting and telling the other characters she's fine without having to delve into the deeper complexities of her emotions.
As long as you don't go scratching at me or humping my leg, we're 5x5, you know?
Fair enough.
How are you?
5x5.
I'll interpret that as good.
Don't worry, we're sure to spot Faith first. She's like this cleavagey slut bomb walking around going, oh, check me out, I'm wicked cool, I'm 5x5. 5x5? 5 what by 5 what? See, that's the thing, no one knows.
Spoiler alert, she is not fine. At the end of the day, all Faith wants is to be loved, and there are few things more human than that. Her fall to the dark side is so clunky and unfocused that you'd be forgiven for thinking it was written by a sentient game of Plinko. I can't watch the scene where she accidentally kills the assistant mayor without hearing a laugh track play in my head.
Faith, no!
Silly as this scene may be, she spends the rest of the season spiraling, and all of her ensuing actions are reminiscent of a child hiding a broken vase from their parents because they're afraid of what the consequences might be. On a better show, the scene could have asked some really interesting questions. Do our mistakes reveal our true natures? Are we defined by the moments we can't control? How do you move forward after a tragic event leaves you frozen in time? On the version of the show we're stuck with, the characters deliberate a modified version of the trolley problem, and after everyone simply labels Faith a murderer, she adopts the identity to make sense of a senseless situation. There's an inherent irony to Faith's name. One of the most prevalent definitions of the word is a strong belief in God or the doctrines of a religion. But the Buffyverse has a peculiar relationship with religious iconography. Characters like Buffy and Detective Kate Lockley wear cross necklaces, but this is to keep vampires at bay. It's not supposed to reflect any personal beliefs they may or may not have. I don't think it's a coincidence that Riley, one of the least likable protagonists on either show, is the only cast member who is confirmed to actively attend church. In order to fully understand Buffy, and to a lesser extent the meaning behind Faith's name, one needs to have a base-level understanding of existentialism, which is a philosophical approach to life that attempts to address the anxiety, dread, or disorientation one experiences when they come face-to-face with a meaningless and indifferent universe. To an existentialist, living a meaningful life is contingent upon exercising one's free will through daily choices and actions. Angel articulates it best when he says to Kate, "If nothing we do matters, then all that matters is what we do," in the 16th episode of Angel Season 2. On the contrary, if someone surrenders themselves to the whims of the world, that person is living in bad faith, hence the pun in Faith's name. By joining the mayor, Faith is rejecting her own sense of free will in exchange for a connection with someone who placates, enables, and cajoles her. Loneliness is just the heart's way of saying, "I'm starving," and desperate individuals will do anything to fill that void. Faith never has to seek the mayor's approval because he gives it out freely and often, but like all politicians, Mayor Wilkins is evil, so the things he approves of are toxic and harmful. Joss Whedon has gone on record to claim that Faith was the first human monster created on the show, which is a bold claim to make considering how power only enabled him to act more monstrous than any demon or vampire to appear on Buffy or its spin-off Angel. I think labeling Faith as a monster discounts a significant portion of her trauma, but being a good person is an active commitment, one that Faith is ignoring because her self-loathing won't allow her to operate in any other fashion. None of the characters on Buffy have the capacity to understand the depths of Faith's agony because they aren't nearly mature enough. Teenagers typically don't grasp the nuances of the world around them, so to expect the Scooby Gang to comprehend Faith's emotional turmoil is both unrealistic and unfair. The same cannot be said for the characters on Angel. Whereas Buffy is a show about growing up, Angel is a show about being an adult. And when you're an adult, the black and white moral binary of youth fades into a collage of ambiguous grays. Every character on Angel is trying to atone for something, but there is no finish line for the process of redemption. There are hardly even mile markers, and no one is more familiar with this fact than Angel himself. Not unlike Sisyphus, he's doomed to spend his existence rolling the metaphorical rock back up the hill, but no matter how hard he tries, it will always roll back down to the bottom. Angel may never be able to balance the scales of karmic justice, but he can spend every day fighting for a good cause, because that's what true strength is. And he's hell-bent on teaching Faith this lesson when she crashes into Los Angeles like a human wrecking ball. Wesley bears the brunt of her wrath. His failures as her watcher contributed heavily to her current mental state, but his sympathy for her bleeds out as her methods of torture worsen. When Angel arrives to save him, he makes several astute observations that stab at the cracks in Faith's fragile veneer of psychosis, and never once does he go on the offensive when the confrontation becomes violent.
I know what it's like. You think you matter, you think you're a part of something, and you get dumped. It's like the whole world is moving, but you're stuck. Like those animals in the tar pits. It's like you just keep sinking a little deeper every day, and nobody even sees.
After they tumble out onto the street, the pace of the fight crawls to a screeching halt, and Faith's taunts become fragmented and hollow. When Wesley finally frees himself and runs out to join the fray, what he stumbles across takes him completely by surprise.
I'm bad! I'm bad! I'm bad! Please! Angel, please just do it! Please just do it! Just kill me! Just kill me!
This is, without exaggeration, one of my favorite scenes in the history of television. The writers went out of their way to convince the characters and audience members alike that Faith was an unredeemable maniac, but Angel saw through this narrative because he's the other side of the same coin. When he pulls her into that hug, we all become Wesley in that alleyway. Our knives fall to the ground like the tears from Faith's eyes, our vendettas forgotten as we witness her total and complete breakdown. All of her actions are recontextualized as a suicidal tailspin, and as she hits rock bottom, Angel is there to soften the blow, and he helps her push the rock back up the hill. Consent is an important, yet unspoken aspect about receiving comfort. To let someone console you, there needs to be a significant foundation of trust, and Faith accepting Angel's compassion is her sincerest moment of vulnerability on either show. Having clawed my own way out of a severe depression, I'm all too familiar with the unwillingness to let people in, but I would have gotten better sooner had I allowed my support system to actually care about me. This scene is beautiful because it's a reminder that we are all still worthy of love in our darkest hours, and though the journey is hard, it's possible to make it back to the light. How fitting is it, then, that this message comes at the end of an episode named 5 by 5, which is the very mantra Faith used to deny feeling anything at all.
The road to redemption is a rocky path.
That it is.
Think we might make it?